Around 7 o'clock on the day of elections. That was when I got the first phone call telling me that something untoward was happening in Florida.
I was on my way to vote. There was a roadblock, and there were approximately 5 highway patrolmen there, and they stopped me. He asked me for my driver's license.
I present my voter's registration to the lady, and with my driver's license, she said my name wasn't on the paper.
The supervisor wanted to talk to me. We have you listed as a convicted felon. You have been purged from our system. You've lost all your civil rights. I was slingshotted into slavery. That's how I felt.
I don't believe the American people, even to this day, really understand what happened in Florida 2000. At every precinct, there's something called the voter list. And if your name is not on the voter list, then you're not allowed to vote.
5 months before the 2000 election, Jeb Bush, governor of Florida, and Katherine Harris, his Secretary of State, ordered the removal of 57,000 voters from the voter rolls. Supposedly, these were felons, criminals not allowed to vote. In fact, 97% were innocent.
And it just so happened that most of them on that list were Black and Latino.
I got a hold of the computer files. Next to the names are the voters' race.
We have a law that says that a felon cannot be on your rolls. And if I remove that person, from information that I've received, and I've done it improperly, then I'm violating a person's right to vote. The law said that they had to verify this, but they were not taking it seriously. I received a letter saying that I was a convicted felon at my office. Yes, I did. And I am not a convicted felon.
Because there was no debate on the floor of the U.S. Congress, one Congresswoman, Cynthia McKinney, decided to hold her own investigative hearings in Atlanta, Georgia, the home of Choice Point, the company that created this list, and she dragged in the executives of the company to answer questions.
What Choice Point admitted to us at the town hall meeting was that they weren't looking for exact matches.
Florida officials only wanted an 80% match on the last name.
If John Smythe was the convicted felon and John Smith was on the voter roll, well, John Smith became a convicted felon. And the state of Florida said, well, give it to us anyway because we want that comprehensive, inaccurate list.
After wrongly identifying 8,000 Florida voters with Texas misdemeanor records as felons, it supplied a revised list.
Texas did not inform VBT that misdemeanors were on the list. They said it was a list of felons.
You got from the state of Texas a list of those who could not vote in Florida. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And who in Florida told you to provide those names?
It would have been the Division of Elections.
I just want to make it clear to the folks who are in here, if you think you thought what you thought you heard, and you don't believe that that's exactly what you heard, well, let me make it plain to you that that's exactly what you heard. What you heard is that highfalutin folks in Florida and Texas got together and decided that they were going to devise a way to make a list that would deny black people in Florida the right to vote and therefore produce the result of a stolen election, and which is what we saw now. I know I'm supposed to be nonpartisan when I'm in an official capacity, but it appears to me that that's exactly what happened.
For something as precious as the right to vote, you would think that they would want to know that the person they're banning from the voting booth is the actual person who committed a felony. Telling the truth about the 2000 election set me on a course to telling the American people all that they needed to know about this administration. September 11th started out like any other work day for the average American person. All of a sudden, the unthinkable happened. Eventually, we all came together and we were given talking points. The talking points said that we were hit because we were free, that we were hated because we're free. And it seemed that everywhere I went for answers, I got that mantra. That wasn't good enough for me. Someone like me is going to want to get to the heart of the matter, to the root, to the truth.
Time to reveal our quote of the day. Buckle your seatbelts. This congresswoman is a Democrat from the Atlanta area. She is Cynthia McKinney, and she has a conspiracy theory you won't believe, hopefully. Here's what she told a Berkeley, California radio station, quote, "What did this administration know and when did it know it about the events of September 11th? Who else knew, and why did they not warn the innocent people of New York who were needlessly murdered? What do they have to hide?" End quote.
We had President Bush place a phone call to Majority Leader Senator Tom Daschle asking him not to investigate the events of September 11th. And then, hot on the heels of the president's phone call was another phone call from the vice president asking that Tom Daschle also not investigate the events that led to September 11th. My question is, what do they have to hide?
I'm an African-American single mom from the state of Georgia. I'm not supposed to question my country. I'm not supposed to question the behavior of my leaders, I suppose.
They knew a Republican could not beat McKinney, so they concocted the scheme to have their candidate, Denise Majette, run in the Democratic Party.
What we were basically talking about was asking Republican voters to leave our primary and vote in the Democrat primary for a black female Democrat. It's a tall order.
Tonight, I lost an election. You won. But I maintained my spirit.
A lot of people had said it could never be done.
People thought they had somehow strengthened America that day, that they had accomplished something. They had been misled into believing that they had gotten rid of a threat to the American way of life. To me, what they had done is threatened the American way of life.
The very act of our sitting vice president taking a paycheck from the American people while at the very same time taking one from a corporation that gets billions and billions of dollars in no-bid sole source contracts should make us all outraged, and the vice president should blush. But these people don't blush because in the end, they know they can get away with it. We've learned some important lessons, and one of them is how really important this congressional seat really is. We've also learned how important the truth is, because powerful forces are working real hard to keep you from knowing the truth. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Back on the hill.
That's right. That's right. That's where we intend to go. I'm hopeful that my vote will be counted today.
How hopeful?
Well, we're backing up my hope with a team of lawyers.
When the initial tally came in, like 8%, it was Cynthia was like third place behind Levitan and Woolard. Cynthia has now moved up to second place.
Something beautiful just happened. Cynthia McKinney just went from second place, jumped up to first place.
We're gonna take 5 buses to D.C. We're gonna tell them all she's back.
Welcome back.
Thank you. When I got back to Congress, I got my seat back on the House Armed Services Committee, although I did not get my seniority as I had asked. The chairman is going to strictly adhere to the 5-minute rule so everybody can have a chance to ask their question. And they get almost to me, and then I hear Rumsfeld say he's got to go to lunch.
Absolutely. I took down the names of everyone who's left, and we'll get them down for breakfast sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, the gentlelady's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Would that breakfast with the secretary be open to the public?
Well, if you want to bring all the omelets, it might be.
Well, Mr. Chairman, there are many of us who have important questions, and my question in particular is about the 4 war games that were taking place on September 11th and how they may have impaired our ability to respond to the attacks on September 11th.
Well, let me say the gentlelady
I would like that question to be answered in public, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
those chairs are in that hearing room because the public is invited to hear just exactly what the military policies and priorities of our country are going to be. And a private breakfast was not the setting for the public. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to see my secretaries, my cabinet, respond to the real questions that I tend to ask. There are serious financial management problems at the Pentagon. Fiscal year 1999, 2.3 trillion missing. Fiscal year 2000, 1.1 trillion missing. The Pentagon has claimed year after year that the reason it can't account for the money is because its computers don't communicate with each other. Who has the contracts today to make those systems communicate with each other? How long have they had those contracts? And how much have the taxpayers paid for them? Finally, Mr. Secretary, I do expect the written response to my previous question, hopefully by the end of the week. So if you could proceed to my second question, please.
The second question, I've forgotten what the second question was.
I think it was 1791. George Washington warned in his farewell address, he warned the American people to beware the false patriots who will wrap themselves in the flag but betray your values. I think we've definitely got that personified in this administration.
Could you repeat the question to make sure I'm answering the right question? This is 9/11 question.
The question was, we had 4 war games going on September 11th, and the question that I tried to pose before the secretary had to go to lunch was whether or not the activities of the 4 war games going on September 11th actually impaired our ability to respond to the attacks.
The answer to the question is no, did not impair our response. In fact, General Eberhart, who was then the commander of North American Aerospace Defense Command, as he testified in front of the 9/11 Commission, I believe he told them that it enhanced our ability to respond, given that NORAD didn't have the overall response.
The 911 truthers now are able to see through all of that, and their sole motivation is just find out what happened that day. How did U.S., a multi-trillion-dollar military and intelligence infrastructure fail 4 times on one day? That's all. Just tell us how that happened. Who was in charge of managing those war games?
North American Aerospace Defense Command was responsible. These are command post exercises. What that means is all the battle positions that are normally not filled are indeed filled. So it was an easy transition from an exercise into a real-world situation, actually enhance the response. Otherwise, it would take somewhere between 30 minutes and a couple of hours to fill those positions, those battle spaces, with the right staff officers.
Mr. Chairman, begging your indulgence, was September 11th declared a National Security Special Event Day?
I'd have to look back. I do not know. You mean after the fact or before the...
No, because of the activities going on that had been scheduled at the United Nations that day.
I'd have to go back and check. I don't know.
Thank you.
I don't think I've demonstrated much caution since I've been back to Washington, D.C. Maybe that wasn't the smartest thing to do.
Citizenship is demanding accountability from those who are charged with the responsibility of representation of the people and who have power over the public purse.
I really don't have anything to lose. I've lost everything. They took away my job, my livelihood. They took away my good name. So why not stand up? Why not fight? Challenging the Bush administration's actions in domestic and foreign policy and their priorities and the values is one thing. But the bottom line is that even that is already rigged. If we can't count on our vote actually being counted and counting.
We know the truth, and we won't be stopped. So stay strong, my brothers and sisters, because we've got a lot of work to do. Thank you.